2023 meeting of the North Bennington Graded School Prudential Committee. First item of business is always, well, perhaps doesn't matter if we introduce ourselves anymore because not everyone can be. I don't know if you're seen on Cat TV, but I'll go ahead and do it. Ray Molino, I'm the chairperson. Board. Matt Patterson, vice chair, is on Zoom with us. Kieran McNamara, who's a member of the board, is on Zoom with us, and Doug Dugy, our treasurer, is on Zoom with us. And we're here with the superintendent of schools of the Southwest Vermont Supervisory. First item of the business would be.
I'm here too.
Oh, and Lori's here. Thank you. Can't see you on screen, but thank you, Lori. Lori is the treasurer and is the secretary of the board, not the treasurer. So seeing no one online asking to be let in for public, right? There's no one else.
No, I don't see them.
So, we'll move right ahead to treasurer's report. Doug?
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So a few things to update tonight. First off is tax collection. Taxes were paid from the village to the school district on December 1st. I'll give a breakdown. Total amount due per the state calculation is $1,104,500.20. The village paid $200,000 to the school district on November the 4th, so that we didn't have to advance last month for the tax loan. So that the 1.1 million less that. As of December 1st, the delinquent taxes for the school outstanding were $109,577.64. So that equals a check that went to the school district in the amount of $794,922.56. Delinquent taxes continue to be paid. As of my last report, which was December 9th, so just late last week, the amount for school delinquent principal was down to $75,767.62. And it's even a little further now. I've had a few more come in this week. So going forward, that amount will just get paid monthly, as it always does, from the village to the school district for those collections. Other than that, I'll hit. Does anybody have any questions on the taxes?
No, I don't.
Okay. There's two things on the warrant that I just wanted to point out prior to getting there. So obviously the first page, the M&T loan payment. So that's the amount, principal and interest, and we're paying that a little early. So we're saving a little bit of interest there because it's not due till the end of the month. And then there is two checks on the warrant. One is for the town of Shasberry in the amount of $2,015. That was money that was received actually back in March. The state sent the school a check. We could not figure out what it was for. We thought it was prebate money. It was not prebate money. It ended up being a change in land use, and the parcel is actually a Shasberry parcel. So Tracy in the accounting office did a lot of work, and she actually had some contacts that she had at the state, so she got further than I did. And because the municipality billing is the primary, that money has to go over to Shaftesbury. However, the state, because they go by school district, came to us. So leave it to the state to.
You mean it was actually in Shaftesbury, not Shaftesbury District 1?
Well, no, right. The parcel itself is a Shaftesbury 1. So okay. It is in our school district.
All right.
But the amount of the 2015 had to do with the municipal portion of the billing, not the school portion of the billing.
Okay,
But they left us to unwind that without any sort of indication, any letter or email stating until, Tracy was able to get to the bottom of it. And then they finally did say, yes, this has to go over to Shaftesbury. So that's where that
So-
check is coming from.
does that mean that $2,000 in 2015 was supposed to be paid to the town of Shasbury, been paid to us?
Well, according to the state, the way that they process these, it goes to the school district, and then the school district has to pan it out. However, they didn't tell us that it was going to Shaftesbury, and they didn't even tell us that it had to go that route. The letter was just a generic, here's money from a change in land use. So it, it was just there.
Okay. I'm not following that, but I'm trusting you, so.
Right. And we have all the backup work to show that we were directed by the state to pay this to the town of Shaftesbury.
Okay.
We have the email, we have the letter, all those fun things. So, I mean, at the end of the day, for the school district, it's in one hand and out the other. So we're not out any money. We're not paying Shaftesbury anything other than the exact amount that was received from the state.
Okay.
And then the last check, the Village North Bennington, $4,022.14. That is probably the last round of the prebates. Those are for the late filers and things like that. So my guess is that'll probably be the last one. That's money that came in, again, same from the state, that goes to the village for prebate funds.
Okay. So while we're at it here, since I'm looking at the warrant to understand what Doug's talking about, the warrant, well, we'll get into it straight away, I guess, because you don't need to say anything more about finance.
No, I didn't have anything else unless anybody had any other questions. Oh, the other quick note, we did get our December state aid, which was just a shade under 700,000. So that'll be on next month's reconciliation report, but it did come in December. So between that and the taxes, we're in a good position currently.
Okay. So let's do Matt or Kieran, do you have any questions? All right. So I'll move on to the consent agenda. And warrants are part of the consent agenda. Since I'm staring at the warrant, I will just quickly review that warrant. There's a payment for $50 to Lori for board minutes. And then December is our month for paying other independent schools, in addition to paying our usual payment to the village school of North Bennington. So there's a payment to Highland Hall School for 3 children there. That's 73. I'll just be a round number here, $7,300. Long Trail for 2 students there. That's $8,400. Maple Street for 2 students attending Maple Street. That's $8,400. Sacred Heart for 4 students, $5,900. Southshire tuition for 17 students, $71,200 roughly. And then there's a prorated student, because there was a student that transferred from the village school to Southshire, and I figured out with Colleen and the bookkeeper at Southshire, we figured out the prorate on that for this payment. And we had paid the first payment on the mistaken prorate, so we've adjusted a couple $100 difference out of this payment for that student. After this, it should be added in, and there'll be 18 students being paid at the quarterly rate for students at South Shore. And then there's the village school, 145,900 for the month. Or, then there are the town of Shaftesbury and village of North Bennington payments that Doug mentioned, and we paid for our post office box at the post office in North Bennington, $186 for the year. We also have minutes from last month, from November 8th, as part of the consent agenda. And so I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, which would be the warrants plus the minutes. Matt, is you moved it and Kieran seconding, is that correct? Okay. All right. Are there any comments about either of these? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of approving the consent agenda? Say aye. Raise your hand. Go back to, now we move on to policies. We have two different policies. One is an adoption, policy 5084, personal use of wireless communication. I'll move that we adopt it. Get a second. Matthew is giving us a second. Are there any questions or comments about that, or shall we just call the question and adopt policy 5084, personal use of wireless communications? Say aye, raise your hand, or say aye. Thanks. That's all of this. Second policy is policy 5120, concussion management. And this is a new warning of this policy or changes to it, which I guess it was just, we warned it tonight.
Yes. Yeah, it's been coming around to all the boards.
Okay, so it got warned at the SU tonight. We're getting it for warning 20 minutes later. So I'll move that we warn it.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Don't see any offered, so let's call the question. All in favor of warning the 5120 concussion management?
Aye.
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 That's all three of us done. So we move to the superintendent's report.
Just, this is the time of year that we're totally occupied by budget meetings, budget preparation, budget discussions, administrators. Renee is doing an outstanding job, but she's supported by a large group of administrators that are all contributing. As Ray said, the SU met earlier this evening for their budget. As you know, we need to get that set first. They will meet again January 3rd. Hopefully, we will finalize the SU budget that evening so then assessments can be calculated from there. Tomorrow night is Sandgate's meeting, so we will be discussing their budget with them as well. Union Elementary has had 2 budget meetings. The other is negotiations. I know you don't have employees, but you do get impacted by where this may end up by the assessment for the SU. Teachers came in asking for 16% increase for next year, plus a 403B contribution from the employer, some sellback of sick days if they don't use them. It's a calculus. A lot of large money issues. And as I mentioned in the previous meeting, Arlington did settle, which is part of the SU, so that is impacting these negotiations at 7% for this year and 6% for next year. So the boards offered to the teachers basically a 7% increase for this year and a 7% increase for next year, but with very little language changes. And that has not been accepted. So we will get, negotiations has been suspended until January. We're not gonna, meet next week or to the holidays. They joined unions, so it's a little bit different. The support staff union and the teachers association are now one. They're all under the NEA umbrella, but they are now one union. So we're negotiating with them both at the same time. It's a little bit different. The support staff responded that they would accept an 8% increase, but there's significant language differences, particularly around what they're calling safety and student behavior issues that really in our legal attorney's opinion does not have any place in a teacher's contract. Language about when a teacher can remove a student from a classroom basically without, if on behavior issues, without permission from an administrator. So I think we're kind of far apart on safety language, but I applaud the school board for recognizing what, our particularly our support staff, our starting salaries are low. We've had real difficulty filling people.
Yeah.
I think the offer that the school boards made is historic. I've never seen an opening offer of 7%. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that
probably
sounds
not.
historic to me.
Yeah, so I still think that we can work through this, talk through it, and get everyone in a place where we can come to an agreement. But we originally were trying to shoot to get it done before the budget was completed, so that we had real numbers to put into the budget. But that also historically has never happened, so, I thought we started a little bit earlier, and maybe we could have got it done, but it's not going to happen, so. That's what's been
And what were the other things they asked for again?
a 403B, which is like, the employer makes a contribution to a tax sheltered savings. 403B is a municipal employee type.
Right, and they have 403s now.
No, they don't.
They don't?
No.
They have the,
Arlington does. They said they want parity with Arlington, yeah.
okay, so they have a contribution made to the state teachers.
Yes, they have the teachers' retirement fund that they contribute, and we, as the employer, also have to contribute to that fund too.
Yes, and does Arlington already have that plus the
Yes.
403?
Yes,
Nice.
but in Arlington, we're talking about, less than 40 teachers, and then multiply it by 300 and something here, it could be a significant dollar proposal.
Right, because there'd be a deduction for them, but there'd be a contribution from the employer.
Yeah, up to 5% is what they're asking of the teacher's salary over like so many years. Yeah, he should, the more you hear, and you start with 1% return, it's a 2% return, it's a 3, up to 5.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling you anything that, I shouldn't be sharing. The negotiations are done in public. So
Right.
everything I've said to you is part of the
Is
public
out there.
session. Doug's got his hand up.
Yep.
Thanks. I just wanted to ask a quick question. So prior to Arlington joining SVSU, were there teachers in a separate union, or were they still under the same union umbrella as the SVSU
So
teachers?
they are still, even though they're under the SU, they are still in a separate union, a separate contract. All other towns are all under a unified contract. So MAU and the Union Elementary and oddly Southwest Tech all share the same teacher's contract, but Arlington has a separate one.
Okay, so when you say that the SVSU teachers are asking for parity, it's a separate union contract that was agreed to in Arlington.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, I just was trying to clarify
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no, it's a good point, Doug, because because I'm relearning how I speak too, because like I say, the SVSU, they are part of the SVSU. So SVSU other than Arlington is what I probably should have said.
No, that's perfectly fine. Like I said, I was just trying to figure out if it was apples to apples or somewhat apples to oranges.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a comparable for the teachers in the SVUS, UESD, and MAU.
So they have a separate union president in Arlington, than this union president, but they both are under the umbrella of Vermont, NEA.
Right. But they've up until they've had just separate bargaining and that type
They
of
have a
thing.
separate bargaining unit.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Right.
Thank you.
And as you see in other contracts of unions outside of the education field, one contract will precipitate changes in other contracts with other employers. Okay. Anything else about that?
Unless anyone has any questions for me.
Yeah. I'm trying to digest the information.
There's a lot.
There's a lot there, and a lot of this happens to be, I'm looking at the assessment sheet that you can't see that. I'm not sure you can. The assessment sheet that Renee constructed, and it's complicated, but it was complicated last year too, but it's quite different in terms of impact from last year for this school district, North Bennington. Because we actually see, due to the switch to the new weighted format and the basis of the long-term ADM, we actually see some decreases in some items. And then because of surplus in the fund balance of special education expenditures for this district, we see no assessment for next year because there's a fund balance there to cover our expenses. So that at least is helpful. I'm not sure what else happens to us at this point. We won't know until January. We'll work on it in January after the SU budget is actually passed. So that's my comment on the FY25 budget. We still have a CLA adjustment that actually I haven't seen the data sheet on that. What our CLA is going to be this year. Yeah. Have other districts got them?
And I'm not sure.
I'll ask Renee. She's seen it. But fairly certain we're still going to be suffering from being 20 points lower than we were previous to last year. But the net impact of, Renee constructed a chart that shows, for comparison, the FY 2024 budget that we're currently under, reconstructed to the new basis for educational spending distribution. And it shows our education spending for 2024, the current year, would be I go to the annual report from last year. Let's see. Okay. And for FY 2024, in our annual report, our educational spending per pupil was 18,515. And this reformatting according to the new system shows us with educational spending of 15,940.45, basically. So there's, I do not exactly understand how this goes, but then you have to remember that the yield per dollar taxation is is 99452, as according to the tax commissioner, for FY 25, whereas the yield last year was, okay, 15 something, 16, 15 something. Wait a second, I can find that out. The yield for last year was 15,479 last year. So there's a $6,000 drop roughly from last year to this year in terms of what a dollar of taxation on real estate will bring in. And so I have not done that calculation to see what that means, would have meant for our budget. So that's, if we took this budget number into this year, which of course it won't be that, it'll be higher a little bit, what that would give us for a tax rate. And I will do that. I won't do that on the fly sitting here because I'll make a mistake. At any rate, you can see that there's some quite substantial changes in the way the numbers affect us, and I'm not sure how it all sugars out in terms of what our tax rate will be and what our taxpayers will see. And really can't.
Ray, do you have any sense of what we're looking at? I mean, I so respect your ability to dive deeply into this because my head is spinning about these numbers, but
Let me see. Just let me get a calculator. We could do one little thing.
I don't want to put you on the spot because
No, if we just take last year's numbers, and refigured it's 15,945 divided by 9452. Yeah, so last year would have come in at 168. That's, wait a second. 168 for just a K6 tax rate. And whereas what we actually saw last year, and that's before going through the process of adjusting for,
CLA and
well, adjusting for Mount Anthony and then for the CLA. Right, so see if I can find this. So, Sorry. I- So last year, anticipated, okay, so. Yeah, and also I can't, my eyes are not what they used to be, so. Going to have to blow this up.
I understand.
Yeah, I know you do. Right, so last year, the same figure was 120 basically, before the CLA. So that doesn't look so pretty. I could be wrong about that because I'm.
Because you're calculating on the fly.
Yeah, calculating on the fly and I'm having trouble. You know, I have to work myself into this arrangement.
Ray, I'm sorry to ask the question because
Yeah.
remember last year,
Yeah, it's 119. Last year, that was before CLA, before melding with, MAU, and what we ended up with then for a total was, well, that wouldn't be comparable to this. So, so a lot of that increases would, if that's correct, is due to the fact that you go from better than $15,000 raised by a dollar taxation down to 9,500 basically. And our equalized, they're no longer equalized pupils. Our long-term average ADM is about 201 and change, about 202. So, and that's been factored into this reconstruction of FY 2024 spending. But seems like it would have given us a, well, last year was, well, so let's go, that would have been, last year, that should have been like, it was 15,944, 57, 15,45. That's what I was dividing by, right? So if it were, but it's 94.52 for spending for amount of dollars, so it's $1.68 for last year, as compared to $1.19 that we started with at the same, I think, the same position. So it's not going to be very pretty, especially with the CLA adjusted in there. But I will work on that and find out.
yeah, I wouldn't take any of that for,
Yeah.
you know, but I remember last year, remember that calculation where it came out like 192?
Yeah, well, that was a mistake.
I know.
Yep.
And we ended up at 168.
Well, we ended up like 161 or about 162 or 3, I think, once we were merged with MAU, and I can't figure that out.
Right.
I don't have those. I have no information from MAU, although it's on this sheet, so I could probably get an idea.
So I saw the smoke coming out of your ears trying to do this, and obviously I shouldn't have even asked. I mean, I'm just anxious to know. But because the state doesn't tell us anything until January, you know.
Um, well, I mean, what we have to do is we have to figure out the number of students. And we have to, I asked Renee a question, which she said she sent me a response. I'm not sure if she responded to this question about how this affects state average tuition for K-6, because that will affect all the institutions, smaller independents who are billing us on the basis of state average. You understand my point? Yeah. Because if that state average is going down, as these numbers indicate, that would knock their
What's their ability to charge you?
Yeah. So there may be, I'm not sure how it's going to sugar up, just seems like there may be an impact on rates that are paid out to Highland Hall.
That's typically what we're anxious to know, but at the same time, then we know it'll come fast and furious when we get to January.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll know in January. So I can't really help too much on that, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then with respect, I think the other item on the agenda was talk about the ventilation project. This is very brief. I had a meeting with Tim Newbold on Monday, and he told me that he is talking to Mark Ottinger about being their attorney. Mark is the attorney for the VISA, the Independent School Association, and see if we can work out the legal basis for VSNB to be the conduit for the money and to do the bidding process. Because it'll simplify things and it'll simplify the audit trail for the SVSU. They won't have to deal with it. We won't have to deal with it. Enrollments was the last thing I had on the agenda. I sent you an email that reported this, but I'll just report it so it's public. The village school has 2 new students who came in very recently. There were two new students who new families to the district, and the same was true for the village school. Although one person, one student had been there before, but the parents had moved away, and now they're back in the district for final year of the student's education. Two students moved into the district and are attending Pine Cobble. We prorated that payment as well. And then finally, there was one student who transferred from the village school to Southshire, and there was that prorate also. So there's been a net increase of 4 students in the district since the census, and then 1 student transferring. So. And we did have we had a slight increase in total number of students in the census as well. And I really don't have anything else to say because I really can't work on this stuff until I get more information. So, I would say, one thing I would say, of course, Kieran knows this, there's a concert. When is the concert now? Tim, you are here, Tim. I'm
It's-
sorry, I didn't know.
Next Tuesday.
It's
Concert
next
is-
Tuesday. It had to be bumped till next week. So next Tuesday at 6:30.
Okay, and then, but then the Friday, there is a, younger children's concert of sorts.
Yep. And that's
And
going to be at about
2:15
2:15 or so.
2:15.
Yeah, you're all more than welcome to join us.
All right. Any, other comments from board members? So, Tim?
I just would add that I did hear from Mark Ottinger. I did email the group earlier today. And he did not see any reason for the process not to move forward. There, he didn't see any hiccups for any of the entities involved. He did ask, just one thing to consider, and this would be for you guys as the building owners, is just if we wanted to do the grant jointly so that, it's partly, benefiting your building. But he said, even going forward with the way it stands now, where we receive the money, he does not see any issue with it. And he's happy to work with Dina, I'm sorry, if we need to do any legal paperwork, but he doesn't think we need to. He thinks we can just proceed as it stands currently with the process. So it's a matter of whether you guys as an entity are okay with that, and then I'll reach out to Efficiency Vermont and try to move forward, and we can potentially
Yeah,
try
I mean,
to
we've
start the
already
bidding
said
process
we're
again.
fine with the project, so.
Yep.
I think if he sees the way clear, then, should, proceed and, be looking for ways, contractors. I don't know, he would have to tell you whether, what rules you have to follow on the bidding.
Yep, no, we will work with him and Efficiency Vermont and some other schools I know of who have had to go through a similar process.
Right. And then the other thing you said was that, you made a comment that there is some effort to find out whether an extension is possible.
Yeah, so that we're waiting to hear from the state and Efficiency Vermont. Our suspicion in talking with them, they think that the timeline may be extended across the state and even across the country because there's so few contractors available to do this work that a lot of the projects are being delayed from what they initially anticipated. So
Okay.
if that's the case, we may still be able to get a company to bid, but my hope is that we can also start the bidding process again once we get all this legal stuff cleared away.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to developments on that front.
No, I think it's favorable so far.
Yep. And I don't have anything else to offer. So we shouldn't just sit here and twiddle our thumbs. So I'd say we should adjourn.
I'd appreciate that.
All right. All in favor, huh? Okay. So we're adjourned.